Hi YouTube, this time I'm going to be doing my deck profile as promised in my last video. My deck profile over the Darkness Dragon world featuring the Black Dragons for the new Triple D trial deck. This is my custom build using only 2 of the trial decks. And so yeah, starting off is the Buddy, Abigail Lost Horizon, the Impact Monster, and the flag card for Darkness Dragon world of course. Abigail is a size 3 impact monster, critical 3, 7,000 power, 6,000 defense. Call cost, pay 2 gauge and destroy a black dragon monster on your field. And when it enters the field, it destroys a card on your opponent's field. Not a monster, but any generic card. And of course, I play 4 copies of the Buddy in the deck. It may be an impact card, but I count it as a monster. So, then 2 of Twin Blade Black Dragon, Kandere, whatever. 7, 2, 5. Pay 2 gauge and put 2 Black Dragon from your drop zone into its soul. So that's a soul guard of 2, because it has soul guard and double attack, which is even better still. And when it says Black Dragon, it can be any Black Dragon attribute card, not just a monster. And since the deck's mostly almost all Black Dragon attributes, it has a lot of targets in the drop zone to choose from. So usually when you play this guy, he'll have a soul guard of 2, which is really good. And with double attack, it's even better. So 2 copies of that guy is a minimum. Then I play 4 copies of Black Assailant, Gothagorobi. 6,000 power, 2 critical, 5,000 defense. Decent stats, and call cost is pay 2 gauge, not too bad. And when it enters the field, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. It makes them lose a monster, plus it also adds to their drop zone, which is what the deck's all about, which is basically milling your opponent's deck. One, they run out of cards. I mean, the deck's not crazy enough up to the point where they would run out of cards completely and lose because of a technicality. I mean, I don't think there's any deck that can currently do that, but this deck's kind of close to achieving that point. Then I play 4 copies of Black Companion, Bethagul. 4 copies of that. Size 2, 4,000 power and defense, and a 3 critical. Then when this card is destroyed, put the top 2 cards of each, not just your opponent, each fighter's deck into their drop zones, and you gain a life. So basically what you would want to do with this card is play it in the center, have it protect you, and force your opponent to have to attack it. Then you both lose 2 cards, so that way they take 2 cards into their drop zone, which is what the deck's all about, and you gain a life, which is a nice bonus. And onto these size 1s you get, I use 4 Black Cradle Cribulus. Size 1, only 1 critical and 1,000 defense, but has 6,000 power, and a good ability too. When this card attacks and destroys a monster, put the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck into your drop zone. So it only works when you destroy a monster, and with 6,000 power it can get over most things. So yeah. Then 4 copies of Black Dragon Balzam. Size 1, 3,000 power, 1,000 defense, critical of 2. When this card enters the field, if you have another Black Dragon monster on your field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. So I play this card for adding gauge. Then for another defensive card, I run 4 copies of Black Rampage Fanagal. 2, 2, 2, has the move ability. Simple, not much to it. Then, just because of space reasons, I play 3 copies of Black Star Seus. Size 0, 1,000 power and defense, but 2 critical. Decent card. Now running into these spells, I run 3 copies of Void Slasher. Again, spell, but has a Black Dragon attribute, so it basically acts as fodder for the other size 3 guy. Void Slasher, 3 copies. You may only cast this if you have 5. If there are 5 or more cards in your opponent's drop zone, and cast cost is pay 1 gauge. Deal 1 damage to your opponent, but it gets better. If there are 10 or more cards in your opponent's drop zone, deal 3 damage to your opponent instead. So what you're trying to do is essentially make them lose as many cards as possible so you can get off the best abilities in the deck, like Void Slasher's maximum of 3 damage. Then I run 4 copies of Abyss Symphony. You may only cast it if your life is 6 or less, pay a gauge, draw 2 cards. Run 4 copies for the draw power that I need in the deck. And I run 4 copies of Dark Spirits, Drago Energy Clone, 3,000 power and defense, and counter attack. Offense or defense, depending on how you use it, can act like a defensive shield card. Speaking of which, 4 Black Dragon Shield. You may only cast this if you would be dealt damage, and if you do not have a monster in the center. That damage is reduced to 0 and you gain life. So yeah, next time you would be dealt damage. It doesn't have to be from an attack. So the upside of this card is you could potentially stop an impact card. But not cards like Gargantua Punisher, which cannot be reduced, but for most of them, it's a good card. And last but not least, the items. I run 4 of Sickle of Revenge Avenger. 5,000 power and 2 critical. Cost is pay 1 gauge and 1 life. When this card attacks, put the top card of your opponent's deck into his or her drop zone. So that's a really nice ability. It kind of adds to the deck destruction of the deck. Plus it happens whenever it attacks. It doesn't have to successfully destroy an opponent's monster or anything, it just happens. And if there are 6 or more cards in your opponent's drop zone, for this turn it gets Penetrate. So every turn that you have this card equipped, as long as they have 6 cards in their drop zone, it permanently gets Penetrate. And as the only backup item, I run only 2 copies of Black Dragon Blade Evil Fearless. 3,000 power, 2 critical, no cost. So what I feel like the best essential strategy would be in this deck is to start out slow, not really focus on dealing damage to your opponents. Just try to destroy their field and make them mill as many cards as possible. Then when you have up to a certain point, you can then like go all out and use your card's best effects. Like say I have 3 gauge, my opponent has 6 life, I pay 2 gauge, destroy a card, and bring out Abigail. They have 9 cards in their drop zone. I use its ability to destroy a card. They have 10 cards in the drop zone. I attack, deal 3 damage, you're down to 3. Then I cast Void Slasher. Pay 1 gauge, and since they have officially 10 cards in the drop zone, it does 3 damage, and it finishes them off. So essentially, I think the best thing to do with this deck, strategy-wise, is to start off slow and just focus on just destroying your opponent's deck, like attack all their monsters, not really focus on their life points. Then when they're up to a certain point, just go all out and deal as much damage as possible. And since, you know, you're kind of like intentionally taking their attacks, not really, you know, kind of going slow, it kind of lets you play Abyss Symphony a lot easier since it's life requirements. So yeah, 4 in the deck is kind of essential. So yeah, this has been my deck profile over Darkest Dragon World, the Black Dragon build, over the new trial deck. So yeah, this is the budget deck for the new cards. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. There will be a link in the description for Amazon of how you can buy the trial deck that I used cards to make this deck from. So you can copy this trial deck or make your own version if you want. So yeah, and then watch my previous video when I open up the trial deck and enjoy. And that's about it. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Subscribe, and there will be more videos on the way, like another Pokemon walkthrough video. So yeah, hope you enjoy, and goodbye. Peace.